Welcome to a new episode of Education Exchange, a very special, snowy night of Iowa. And we have a bouquet from Herbert Hoover tonight, celebrating 60 years old, or young.
Young.
Young. 60 years of achievements, of history, of glory, and of future. Hoover is a very important school in our district, and it's the only, I think it's the only school that's named after a president, right?
Yeah.
And to my right side is Lori Chris, a teacher and a parent.
Yes.
A parent of Mr. James, who is an old comer for our show here. You have been with us multiple times before, right?
This is my
Once.
second time.
The second time. We want you to come every year, so we see that you taller every year than the year before. and to the right side of Lori is the great leader. I like to call you artist. I know I'm the only one probably in this town who know you not as a principal and leader, a very visionary leader of Hoover Elementary School, but as an artist. And you are the only one, as far as I remember, and I remember a lot.
Okay.
Because I've been around a couple more years than you are. And you are the only artist who became an administrator. So
Well, at least in this area. There's probably a few out there in other areas, but probably in the Iowa City area, at least in the recent future, or the recent past.
And Crystal Gibson on your right-hand side, a parent.
Yes.
A very active parent at Hoover. And the mom of the beautiful young lady there, sixth grader Amelia, who is one of the leaders of the school population there. And she and James are going to leave Hoover to the junior high next year, and I'm sure that you're going to miss them a lot.
Yes, we will.
At least you have James at home.
Yes.
Right? Dennis, I would like you to share with me, you are a co-host here, all right?
Okay.
So
Do my best.
tell me the role of each one of these wonderful people in this bouquet of roses.
Well, obviously, Lori is one of many great teachers that we have at Hoover School, and James and Amelia are two of many wonderful children that we have at Hoover School, and Crystal is one of many very involved and caring parents that we have at Hoover School. And that was one of the things I found, this is my second year there now. One of the things I found last year was that, number one, the students were a phenomenal group of students, high-achieving students. The teachers are a very dedicated, enjoyable group of professionals, one of the best I've worked with, and I've been at this almost 35 years. And I've enjoyed these last 2 years immensely with the staff here. And the parents, too. The parents have been, what a wonderful, involved group of parents that we have at that school, and that's one of the reasons that I think it has a very special place, I think, in a lot of people's hearts. It's one of the things I found out last year, and this year especially, being the 60th year that we started to plan for last year, was the alumni that come back. It's just been amazing. We've had a reunion earlier in October. We had people who were the first classes at Hoover in 1954 when the school opened, came back with their pictures and their report cards and took tours of the school and told stories of what they did in that classroom at that time and how it looked then and how it's changed, and the teachers too, teachers who've retired and gone through Hoover come back, and principals. It's just the reunion was an amazing thing. But the people who have gone there, their children have gone there, or their grandchildren have gone there. It's quite a community building.
Generational, yeah.
Generational, it really is.
How did you do in the run for the school this year?
You know what? We got third this year, unfortunately. I think we've gotten first since it's begun.
Yes.
Yeah, I
This
know
is
that.
this is the mighty falling.
Yeah, we were very disappointed.
I remember Mike O'Leary, my friend. The first thing he did when I interviewed him a couple of years ago, before you took over the helm of the school, and he said, "Well, we were always the first, always the first." And but he was so proud of the fact that every time it's Hoover, 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 Hoover.
We try.
Nobody else.
I don't know. I guess the competition is getting better
Yeah,
out there.
I
So
know.
I guess at some points you have to pass that crown down. I mean, as long as I went to another Iowa City school, we're good with
Well,
it.
I know we are celebrating 60 years, right? 60 years young. And Public Access TV, who is our host here, these people are so generous to us, and they offer us a lot of help. So I would like to begin, before I forget, give credit to Joshua Edmonds, who is our floor director, to Gloria Wenman, who is in front of you here on the main camera, and Jeremy and Anna, who are working with us the whole day today in the studio. So without the help and the cooperation from Public Access TV, I don't think this program would have not been maintained for 21st years. You know, we're celebrating 21st. So we are a little younger than maybe 1/3 the age of Hoover. Thanks to Mr. John Karoff, our producer, he started this at City High back 20 years ago. Wow. Yeah. So back to your activity. What happened that great day? When was it exactly? Who?
I'm going to Crystal Gibson has been just integral in putting together this celebration. She's really, and our great PTA and the parents who got involved. But Crystal really did a lot of legwork last year when we started planning for the 60th celebration. She took the bull by the horns, and she did some research. She went out there and got sponsors for a lot of different things. I'm going to kind of let her talk a little bit about some of the research she did to get us going, and about some of the things she did for the picture that we see down here, and maybe the kids can hold it up. She made sure that everybody in the school had a 60th anniversary shirt. All the students got them for free, but I'm going to let Crystal go ahead.
Okay.
Come on, Crystal.
Well, I just agreed to be the chair of the 60th anniversary celebrations from the PTA. So we have our regular PTA president, and I just agreed to kind of take over this section of things, and we kind of made a list of activities that we wanted to do. And the very first thing was we wanted to make sure that every teacher and student had a t-shirt. So we got these designed, and we got 3 local sponsors here in town. That would be Carousel Motors, HJR Financial, and Steinler Orthopedic Clinic. Paid for the t-shirts for all the students and teachers to have. And then we arranged for a big school photo to be taken with everybody out on the hill, though I've just learned that James was sick that day. But almost everybody was in the picture that day, and so we have this wonderful memento with everyone and the t-shirts.
Gloria, can you zoom in a little bit? Maybe we can see some of the many people out there.
And it was kind of a fun thing in deciding, in arranging for something like this. You know, you have to hand out the t-shirts on the day of the photo. You can't hand out the t-shirts before then and expect everyone to remember to wear them back. So we handed them out on the day, and I had just gone around the classrooms to guess and figured out what size everyone was going to need. So I went with a little clipboard and figured out everyone's size for their t-shirts, and so we arranged, and then we've been wearing these t-shirts at all the events since then. So we had a huge presence at the City High Homecoming Parade this year. We were wearing our t-shirts, and we had a wonderful float with a big cake on it with 60. And then we were able to have the reunion, which was kind of a community event on a Sunday afternoon. And we had about 150 people or so come through between former students and teachers and everyone.
Who were your main guests there?
We had quite a mix of current children and families, former staff, quite a good showing of former staff, former principals and teachers, and then current staff also. It was a really nice turnout.
Anybody from the family of President Herbert Hoover?
Not that celebration, but then Crystal helped plan
Yes.
another celebration that they were present at.
Well, a couple weeks later, I had learned just by chance that the several members of the family were going to be in town. They were going to be doing a memorial service for, I guess, recognizing the day of his death, and made arrangements with the Hoover Foundation for them to come by the school. So we had 4 members of the family come by. And, oh, you want to get those pictures? Yes. So we had 2 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. Is that how it was, or was it 3 great-grandchildren?
It was the grandson, who was Andrew Hoover, and I'm trying to think. Here we all are here. I think Crystal's there too. If we can, that particular photo down here. So we had Andrew Hoover, who's Herbert Hoover's grandson. His 2 children, Margaret Hoover and Alexander Hoover, and another granddaughter, I think, by another
Branch of the family.
Leslie Hoover, and she's right there. And so they all were able to show up for a huge assembly. You can see all the students back in their shirts again. There was also a proclamation that week by the City Council that they declared that Friday that we had a Herbert Hoover Day. And so we had read and presented a copy of the proclamation to the Hoover family that was there.
Maybe if James or Amelia can read a little bit from it, just to have a, yeah? Go ahead.
Whereas Herbert Hoover was born the son of a blacksmith in West Branch, Iowa, on August 10, 1874, grew up fishing in a local creek and working in his father's shop. And whereas Herbert Hoover became a mining engineer, a humanitarian, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, and the 31st President of the United States. And whereas Hoover Elementary School was dedicated by former President Herbert Hoover in August 1954, with a mission to provide a caring environment helps maximize each student's knowledge, skills, and attitude to enable each student to be a positive influence in the ever-changing democratic society, and to utilize the resources of a challenging curriculum through diverse, dedicated staff, families, and community. And whereas 50 years after the death of President Hoover, the legacy will be marked with ceremonial volunteerism in his hometown of West Branch, and members of the Hoover family joining local volunteers to pack meals to be distributed to low-income families on October 25th. And whereas Herbert Hoover's grandson Andrew, great-granddaughter Margaret, great-grandson Alexander will be visiting Hoover Elementary in Iowa City on October 24th. Various school appreciation and educational activities are planned. Now, therefore, I, Matthew J. Hayek, Mayor of Iowa City, do hereby proclaim Friday, October 24th, 2014 to be Herbert Hoover Day in Iowa City, and encourage citizens to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the death of President Herbert Hoover by participating in activities at the Hoover Museum and Library and at Hoover Elementary in Iowa City.
Oh, great. It's nice to have your school mentioned in this.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
For the history, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been fun. The T-shirts, we've had a 40th, a 45th, a 50th, and now the 60th. The pictures, we've done a 40th, a 50th, and a 60th. We had, I believe it was Alan Hoover for our 50th birthday. So it's been fun, some of the traditions that have kind of evolved, and some of the new, hopefully, traditions that have come about as a result of this year.
Yeah, did you take some pictures, Gloria? Okay. How about Amelia? Tell me about, your feeling about the celebration. What did you learn from there?
Well, in his grandchildren
children and great-grandchildren told a lot about some of his personal interests. It told about his pets. He had actually had his son had crocodiles or alligators in the White House at one time.
Again, tell me this story. This is very exciting. Had an alligator at home?
At home in the White House.
A crocodile. Oh, that sounds a little scary.
He also had his German Shepherd King Tut, which is on one of those.
Over there.
On the one over there.
So he was fond of having his wild animals?
I guess because he allowed
it. He was a strong man and a strong stamina, definitely. Anything else, James, you feel about that day, about the celebration, and you became part of the history, you know?
It was pretty special. Andrew Hoover he had a lot of great stories. He said, Herbert Hoover said that he remembers once he was playing with toy soldiers on the floor. And that was Andrew Hoover. And his grandfather's apartment in New York City, and a guy came up to him and said, "You're doing it wrong. Your flank's gonna get attacked. You're gonna get your army beat." And he looks up and it's General MacArthur.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. You know, the guy who brought the victory to the American troops. Wow.
And Margaret Hoover shared with the 3rd and 4th graders about how Herbert Hoover said there was really no greater honor than to have a school named after him. And she talked about his childhood, being orphaned at a young age, and fighting for the cause of getting children out of factories and into school and having the opportunity to learn and work and play. And that made it that much more meaningful to know that he was so proud of having a school named after him.
Yeah, I mean, that gives a personal touch to the history.
Absolutely.
So they see some of the players that attended all these events. You know.
The day was nice. After the main presentation in assembly, like James was saying, Andrew and his son Alexander stayed with the 5th and 6th graders for a question and answer in the gym. Margaret went with the 3rd and 4th graders in our library to answer questions, and Leslie walked around to the kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade rooms and read a story about, I think, presidents and a few other books to the children, and read stories to them. So it was really a nice event, and they were very impressed with the knowledge of our students. They were very impressed with the behavior of our students and the politeness and the manners of our children. So it was a really special day for everybody.
Oh, and our music teacher, Sarah Pacer, taught the entire school a song kind of in the 1950s style. So we all sang to them.
The Beat Generation.
That's right. We sang kind of a doo-wop song for them, and I think they were really pleased with all that.
Yeah.
They seemed to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the most impressive things that I read about your activity, that you are not going to stop there. I mean, you are planning to continue celebration for the entire school year.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we still have a sock hops planned for the spring. So we're going to do not just 1950s music, but since our school was opened in 1954, that's why we thought we'd kind of go with the sock hop theme. And we're also working on all the different classes to take a field trip out to West Branch at different times of the year to see the different exhibits at the Presidential Library.
And on a teacher level, we've on the 60th day, we some of us wore our 60th T-shirts, and then we did 60 minutes reading in with cross grade level groups. We had K through 6. We called them families. We meet a couple of times a year in our families to kind of develop community across the grade levels. The kids all met, and we have 20 families. So we had a goal of reading 3 books per family, and those will go up on a big cake. We have a candle for each book that was read, so 60 candles. And then we're looking ahead to December here. All of the kids are going to try to sketch the picture of Herbert Hoover that's on the dollar coin this year. And then in the spring, we've maybe thrown around the idea of some kind of a reading activity, again, related to kids having a goal of reaching 60 books as a class or something like that. So we're trying to make it a celebration all year long.
And we had, if you're aware, that the U.S. Mint had come out with presidential coins this year, and Herbert Hoover, there's a Herbert Hoover dollar. So we had purchased, the PTA, I had purchased 100 of those this year of the dollars, and we use those on every Friday for our PBIS incentive program where we draw students' names. We give 2 of those out every Friday to a primary and intermediate student whose names have gotten into the bucket for getting, for having their tickets put in there because they've been doing the Hoover Star behavior, courtesy, respect, good manners. The teachers have rewarded them. So that's been kind of a neat little thing that we've done this year. And at the beginning of the school year, we had one of our somebody who lives in the neighborhood came into the office right before school started, whose children went there, and he brought me 25 coins that we were able to use. He specifically wanted to have us use those for incentives for the students. So it was kind of nice to have that memory, and that he felt that fondly of the school, and he brought additional coins in for the students too.
And then
yes,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say, we've also played into our kids participating in the Coats of Kindness with Longfellow Elementary, and we talked about how the humanitarian that Herbert Hoover was, and that was our way to show a humanitarian act through our own giving. So, a lot of nice ties this year.
Well, I have no doubt that people who are watching this show either on public access TV or on the education channel or YouTube will appreciate the fact that you have rendered history to be living history, to be in action. Because history was a boring story and people will forget it, right? You see James is laughing. Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, a lot of people get turned off, by just reading. But you created one lesson plan after another from this. So the history becomes living history.
Well, he's a fascinating man. It's an honor for us to have his name on our school.
Sure.
And the Hoover Museum has been a terrific partner to us, giving us resources to help teach the kids before we come to the museum, and then reinforcement after the museum visits. So we're very lucky to have that partnership.
Well, let me see now. What do you have for us, for our audience about Hoover? You always have
Hoover?
something new. Well, this is what you're doing.
This is what we're doing. Well, let me talk to you about what's old.
Okay. It's okay.
Which is fascinating too.
Yep.
What's new
Yep.
what's old is new. Well, Crystal had gone through this, and this was some of the research that she had done, which we thought was fascinating.
So we went to the presidential archives, and there were whole files about our school, and we found the letter from the Iowa School District inviting President Hoover to come, or former President Hoover, to come here to dedicate our school, and it was signed by Buford Garner, who is now a namesake of a school here in our district. But he signed the letter inviting him to come, and here's a photo of our school, what it looked like in 1954, and we learned through our research that the day that he came to dedicate the school on August 10th was actually Herbert Hoover's 80th birthday. So there was a huge celebration in West Branch for his 80th birthday, and we learned that after a full day of celebrations in West Branch, he came back through Iowa City on his way to the airport and stopped by at 6 p.m. and dedicated our school. And so here, Dennis, are the pictures of him coming here to dedicate our school. And we are very fond of this picture here on the side because it shows where First Avenue in Iowa City is entirely a cornfield.
And I was also fascinated by the itinerary.
Yes.
That nailed down where he would be by the minute,
yes.
Which you wouldn't find today. So.
Yes. So we found in the archives many pictures taken on that day when he came to dedicate the school, as well as copies of the program. And so and here's the last one. Here's some more pictures. And a fun little thing that we found in the archives was one personal letter was included in the archives. And it was a thank you note written by, we weren't sure who who Billy was at the time, but someone else on PTA tracked him down, and he was a student at Hoover Elementary, and he wrote a thank you note thanking the president for coming to dedicate the school, and it was in the archives. His secretary had kept it. And so we tracked him down, and he's now retired in Austin, Texas.
And he was, of course, surprised.
Yes, he had forgotten about the letter. Yes, so it was a wonderful, research to go, and the archivists were thrilled.
This is, let me tell you, I mean, this is not just a compliment for the activity, but this is a model for all our schools to follow.
Oh.
I mean, I really wish we can do this in every school, create this research in depth, because I think you learned a lot from this, right?
Yeah.
And this is different from a teacher standing in front of you just mentioning events. You dig it yourself, you find it, and then you assimilate it. That's wonderful. Anything you want to tell our audience, Amelia? Anything that jumps to your mind now?
What was your favorite part?
I found it interesting that Herbert Hoover was the only president that had not held a previous political office or wasn't a war hero.
Oh, good. So he came from really the cornfields of Iowa and succeeded.
He did.
Yeah. How about you, James?
I just thought it's really cool because he was always thinking about other people. He sent lots of
He helped a
students
lot.
to Belgium
Right.
for the relief, and that's what Hoover School should be like. They should be willing to help other people.
Well, I can't thank you enough for this wonderful, delightful evening here. This is really exciting, and I'm so pleased to meet all of you tonight. And on behalf of all our team, John Karloff, Mike Peterson, Gloria now that joined us, and of course Joshua, our floor director, we really appreciate the fact that you came tonight with all these documents. It was a learning experience for us.
Thank you.
And thank you very much,
you.
and have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you can watch us on YouTube, Public Access TV, Education Channel, and every Monday and Saturday on the Education Channel. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening.